Hey guys, this is the first WordPress tutorial video. I'm going to walk you guys through some general settings of WordPress and kind of some basics. So if you log into Blackboard, if you haven't already, and if you go to your final project folder, and here is going to have the URLs for your last names. So my last name is S, so I'm going to copy this URL, open a new tab, and replace my last name. And this is going to take me to my install or my version of WordPress. And this is what it looks like out of the box. So once again in Blackboard, our username is last name and password is last name 123. So if I go ahead and go to login in WordPress, and I type my last name and last name 123. Once again, they are case sensitive. And I log in. Safari may ask you, or whatever browser, if you want to remember, you can choose to do whatever you want. You'll be logged into WordPress. So this is what the back end or the inside of WordPress looks like. It's what drives the website. Up here we'll see My CMS. If we click on this, it flips us back out to what the user may see. We notice across the top we now see this gray bar with our username logged in, letting us know that we're logged into the editing version or the back side of WordPress as well. And if we click on My CMS again, that'll flip us to the back side. So if you can imagine it like a cube being flipped front and back, that is the front side of the website that the user sees, and the back end that web developers are allowed to edit. So at first, I just wanted to walk you guys through some general settings. When you log into WordPress, you're going to land on this thing called your dashboard. About 70% of the time, it's pretty much useless. It comes right out of the box. Welcome to WordPress, some posts at a glance, maybe activity, quick draft. Unless you really customize your dashboard, really like the dashboard of Blackboard per se, not really used most of the time, so we can go ahead and just kind of ignore it. So at first, I want to show you guys how to change the name of your site as well as some other general settings. Right out of the box, your site is called My CMS, but we're going to go ahead and change that. So this left-hand side is the navigation or global nav of WordPress, and this is kind of what drives your site. And we'll get into each one of these in other tutorials, but we're going to start down here at Settings. Let's go ahead and click on Settings, and that's going to take you to the Settings menu. And in here, we can change our site title. So maybe we're building a bakery site. And I can't type right now, but Matt's Bakery site. So we put our client's name in here. Our slug line or tagline, slogan, we can change right here as well, and we'll see how that appears on the outside. Very important, WordPress address URL and site address URL. These are set to viscomcapstone2 or viscomcapstone, depending on your last name, /last name. By changing either of these fields, right here or right here, does not change your URL. If you change either of these URLs, you will be locked out of your site for this class, and I won't be able to get you access back in there. It happens once a term, so please pay attention and do not touch either one of these URLs, otherwise you'll be locked out of your site. And I really don't want that to happen. There's very few times where I can get your data back. This is more when you move the site to production on your own server. Then you would edit these two site address and WordPress directory URLs. One thing we can change is our email address right here. Go ahead and change that to your email address. And what this is going to allow is you to get the administrator or admin emails. So when we put in a contact form later and we go to test that contact form, or if someone leaves a comment on our website, it'll come to your inbox. There's some also basic settings, a new user defaults, time zones, date formats. Most of these are pretty well configured out of the box. So we're going to go ahead and click Save Changes. When you're working in WordPress, Save Changes is either going to live at the bottom of the screen or in the top right of the screen. So whenever you make a change on a site, make sure you click it in one of those places to get a success message, meaning your changes have been implemented. So those are kind of the general settings. Under writing, we're not going to necessarily worry about a lot of these. Things like the post via email. This allows us to change some of our email settings and update services. These are some more fine-tuned settings for a more advanced WordPress user, so we're not going to really pay attention to these or use them in this class. Under reading, what reading means is how WordPress reads posts and pages. So if we come into settings and reading, we'll be able to say by default that our front page is going to be our latest blog posts. We can also say, no, we want it to be a static page. We don't have any pages created yet. We'll get to that in the next tutorial video. But here, if we had created a page under Pages called Home Page, we could select that here. And if we had created a page called Blog, we could select that here as well. And telling WordPress how to read our front page and our blog page. We also have some other settings here, like how many blog pages to show, whether in a blog row we want to show the full text of a blog post or just a summary or blog caption. And we can also discourage search engines from indexing this site if you wanted to do that for whatever reason. So go ahead and click Save Changes. I'm going to go ahead and change this back to Select and save it again. Just that way it's default, so when we do create these pages, we can select that later. Under Discussion, basically discussion is comments in WordPress. So these settings allow you to change how many people can comment on it, whether you have to approve it. Most of these are configured out of the box and are good to go, so we're not going to worry about any of these for this class as well. WordPress is pretty great in that it comes kind of pre-configured out of the box, and unless you're really fine-tuning it, a lot of these general settings you don't have to necessarily pay attention to. Media is another global nav up here, and this is where we can add music and videos and images. But in the settings, we can say, okay, WordPress, thumbnails, we want to be 150 pixels by 150. And we want you to crop them and not scale them. What a medium-sized image size is and what a large-size image is. These out of the box, once again, are pretty good sizes. Thumbnails should be about 150, medium-sized images, and large. So we're going to go ahead and leave these. And last, permalinks. This allows us to change the URL structure, so not meaning the URL right there, but everything that comes after that. So inside of our WordPress folder, we can have it just be the post name, or we can have it say something custom. For this class, once again, we're not necessarily going to worry about this, but as you maybe down the road get into more advanced WordPress options, this is how you could change to be more SEO friendly for blogs, as well as search engines and things like that. And change your categories as well. So that's kind of general settings in WordPress. The main ones we're going to be using in this class is under General, is to be able to change our site name and our tagline. So if we go back out to the public side, once again up here, we can see our site name and our tagline. And no matter what theme we're using, those are kind of usually pulled. They may be in different places or laid out differently. But that's how we can edit those. So we go back into the back side, once again go to Settings. And so we'll change some of these settings. Do not change either of these URLs. And as well as reading, where we can say, WordPress, we want this front as our front page, and we want, say, this page as our blog. So those are the two main settings in this section we're going to edit. So in the next video, I'm going to go through how to create pages and add images, and as well as add navigation menus to WordPress. I broke these videos up into smaller videos so that way they're easier to upload to YouTube and shorter to watch and go back and review, so they're not all compiled into one. So go ahead and jump into the next WordPress video and start adding pages.